Time now for Campaign Chronicles, our daily look at the race for the French presidency. So Nicolas Sarkozy really entered the campaign fray on Sunday with his first major rally down in Marseille. Talk about how that went down. I'm now joined by our French politics editor, Mark Perelman. Thanks for joining us, Mark. And also by Elena Casas. Elena, first of all, tell us what the papers have been saying about how Sarko went down south.
Hello, Chris. Well, on the right, for Le Figaro, the most important thing about yesterday was defending a certain idea of France. They've headlined their editorial today, "The Shadow of the General." They mean de Gaulle, who they thought Sarkozy implicitly referenced numerous times throughout that speech. For them on the right, that kind of plays two roles. On the one hand, Sarkozy's showing he can fill the shoes of that kind of presidential model that de Gaulle set up, and he wants to show that Hollande can't, that he's the only one who can rise to that occasion, they say. They also say that he struck a very sort of nationalistic, even populist tone. He said the word France 88 times during that speech, apparently. Yeah, more than any other word. And of course, that's another way in which he's trying to write himself in the line of de Gaulle, who was, of course, famously rather nationalistic. And they also fond of the idea of referendums, something that Sarkozy is turning to increasingly. He, of course, said last week he wanted to have one about whether or not unemployment benefits should be made tougher. It's that populism that Le Parisien's focusing on as well. They've got Sarkozy calls on the people as a headline on this. And on the inside, they say that he's even trying to use the fact that he's become the underdog in the polls to his own advantage. He's trying to paint François Hollande, if you like, as the candidate of the system, and himself now is outside it. He talked directly to the meeting yesterday saying, help me bring the French together, help me win for the sake of France. And they say, somewhat ironically, seeing as he's been in power for 5 years, what he's trying to do now is to present a fresh face, to say, he want to be judged again by the French on these new programme that I have for this election, not so much on my record of the last 5 years. And for that, he's trying to go directly to more working class voters. So if I can ask you then here, Mark, is that his strategy? Does he think he can move away from the last 5 years of his presidency and be judged again afresh?
That's really his main challenge. He's trying to raise this image of the president of the rich by getting back to being the president of the people. And this is why he mentioned France and this idea. He said, I never felt as free as now in this campaign, entering this campaign. I'm getting rid of the presidential protocol, and I can talk to the French, going out campaigning and using this tool of the referendum, which he never used during his first mandate, never even mentioned the idea, is now saying, okay, this is what democracy is all about. He also hinted that he may introduce a dose of proportional representation for future elections as a way of saying, you know, we need to rejuvenate democracy, but he's trying to rejuvenate himself. He's trying to present himself as a freshman, and also because he's the challenger. François Hollande is clearly the favorite, so it's a very unusual and difficult trick. He is the challenger, but he's the incumbent president, and so it's going to be very, very difficult, and we'll know within the next few weeks if this works, if the polls are improving for Nicolas Sarkozy, because right now he's rock bottom.
Not long saying he's a man of the people. At the same time, he's got this kind of image problem that he has over the years. Had quite a lot of rich friends, and there's this perception amongst the French public that he's acted in their interest.
Yes, and this is why the left is saying, you know, he's hoping people have amnesia, you know, that they will forget that when he was elected, he went to a fancy restaurant and then to a nice yacht of a rich friend on the Mediterranean, and this has really stuck with him. And the socialists are attacking him clearly because they're saying, you know, this is a joke. You know, this is the president who's been very nice to the privileged here in France by giving them tax breaks, and now he's saying, you know, I'm the man of the people. So that's really a major challenge. But Nicolas Sarkozy is going to be on the offensive. He has no choice. He's going to propose new ideas to try to destabilize his opponent. We've seen this with this idea of proportional representation, which is an idea of also François Hollande. But Nicolas Sarkozy is good at sometimes stealing ideas and presenting them as his own.
Mark, you're talking about the left-wing reaction there. Elena, how have the left-wing press been reacting?
Well, Libération think it's rather hilarious that a man who's been so associated with being friends with the very rich, as you were saying, is now trying to paint himself as a man of the people. Their headline today is "C'est l'élite finale," which is a play on words with "C'est la lutte finale," which is the final fight, which is part of the lyrics of the communist anthem L'Internationale. Inside in their editorial, they say it's beyond satire that he should try and paint himself as a man of the people now. And the communist paper L'Humanité is even more critical. They've gone for Nicolas Sarkozy extremely on the right as a headline. Inside they say he's kind of entered into an extreme right primary with Marine Le Pen, and there's no guarantee he's even winning that.
What about the reaction of the other candidates?
Well, François Hollande, as Libération says today, has kind of been as unruffled as possible about this, saying at the weekend that he was unconcerned by Sarkozy's entry into the campaign. And his campaign manager, Pierre Moscovici, was also trying to remain as unbothered as possible by the president when he was on the radio this morning.
Yesterday, I saw a president who wasn't in control. I thought the whole Marseille rally degraded the whole public debate because of Sarkozy's constant aggression. And we're still waiting for his first real policy decision. If there was one, it was amidst a wave of nothingness. He proposed nothing about France's problems, nothing about France's future. Nothing was offered to the French people. If that's Nicolas Sarkozy's campaign, well, I'd say that François Hollande is in a different category, a more noble category, because he's already presented his policies for France and he's fighting for them.
So the socialists there are basically refusing to react to Sarkozy's speech with any personal insults. But someone who's not too afraid of personal insults is Marine Le Pen. Le Parisien reports that she went for an even more direct attacking strategy than usual at a meeting in Lille yesterday. She also alleged at the weekend that all the meat sold in Paris is halal without consumers knowing about it, something that butchers have pointed out is not true. But they do also say in Le Parisien that if she is in a contest with Nicolas Sarkozy for right-wing votes, he is actually winning. She's down 3 or 4% in the latest polls, and he's going up in, that 3 or 4%. So they say in that paper that it's increasingly becoming a two-horse race just between him and François Hollande. Is that true, Mark? Are the other candidates becoming less relevant?
It sounds like this is going to happen. The polls are showing, and one came out this morning, that the gap is narrowing between François Hollande and Nicolas Sarkozy. In the first round, 29% for François Hollande, 27% for Nicolas Sarkozy. And the other candidates are 10 points behind Marine Le Pen, the far-right candidate, and François Bayrou, who's a centrist candidate. And this is a shift because several weeks ago there was a talk of a four-way race, and now it's really a head-to-head. And Nicolas Sarkozy, we saw it in the speeches he gave yesterday and the one before, is tacking to the right, to the far right, to really trying to suck up all the voters from Marine Le Pen. And then he's probably going to go towards the center once he solidly has the conservative backing and also the people from the far right. So it is likely that we'll have a face-to-face Nicolas Sarkozy, François Hollande. The other candidates will be protesting, but they probably won't be center stage.
OK, Mark and Lena, thanks very much for joining us. That's it for this edition of Campaign Chronicles. Do stay with us here on France 24.